Hi, welcome to our February 21st, 2020 Focus Friday recording with Chad Gardner and Corey Zimmerman. The video will start in just a moment. We lost a few minutes of video due to technical difficulties. To fill you in, Coach Zimmerman started the presentation by having a young man with a leg brace stand up. He asked the students present what they noticed about his leg. They pointed out that obviously his leg was injured. Coach then explained, it's easy to see when someone is physically hurting, but it's much tougher to identify when someone is hurting mentally, though both are medical challenges. Unlike physical ailments, however, mental ailments carry a negative stigma. Both Coach Zimmerman and Mr. Gardner explained their desire to remove the stigma. The video starts in the middle of Mr. Gardner retelling of his plan to take his own life when he was a high school age student.
You're going to feel better and happier. Oftentimes what happens is you're so desperate for anything that if I do this to myself, if I take my own life, I will have peace and I will feel better. And that decision was like, oh my God, I'm finally going to feel better. Once I do this, it's done. And I don't have to worry anymore. I don't have to feel bad or sad. So I kind of said the goodbyes how I needed to say the goodbyes. And I remember when I was leaving, I said goodbye to my parents. And I knew that they would remember that conversation. I knew that they would say, oh, he came in and he said goodbye. They were really sad, he hugged us. And I remember thinking that as I walked away from them, like, they're going to remember this moment, that this was the last time they saw me alive. And I remember that hurt to think about, but I kept thinking that maybe they'll forgive me. Maybe they'll forgive me and say, you know what? He was hurting. So it's okay, bud. It's all right. You were hurting. Well, we're not going to be mad at you for doing it. And as I walked from where my parents were sitting in the living room, I made my way through the kitchen, and I relived just about every single memory that I can think that I had. I remember the first time I held a girl's hand named Sarah, and I remember how good that felt to do that. And I remember playing sports and winning a certain game that I happened to shoot some free throws, and we won because of it. And I remember that. I kind of did that life review thing where I'm like, wow, this is really going to be it. So as I walked out, my parents didn't see the gun that I had hidden on me. And as I walked out through the kitchen, I started crying. I made it through the garage, and I realized that this is the last time I'm going to go through the garage, and this is the last time I'm going to see any of this stuff. So I was about to lose it because I knew that this was the end. And I don't want to have to admit that, but that's the reality of it. So as I'm walking down, I decided that I was going to do this on a beach north of here. My father worked for Kewanee County Sheriff's Department, and I knew that he was also the coroner. So if there was a body that was discovered, it was going to be mine. So I wanted to make sure it was out of county. So I wanted to go north at this place that I actually visited when I was a kid. So I had planned on doing it there. That's where I was going to do it. I had this all in my head. I knew what I was going to do. And once I got past the garage, no one was going to stop me. There wasn't a person. No one knew. No one knew my plans. I didn't tell anybody. No one would have guessed. No one would have looked at me and said, he's depressed. He's sad. He is going to do this. So I make it past my dad's police car because he had an unmarked car in the garage, or just past the garage. And this guy right here, Corey, happens to pull in my driveway as I'm walking past to go shoot myself. And Corey pulls in, and he sees me, and I see him, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And he rolls his window down, and he just said, what's up? And I don't know, we've never really talked about this, but it was, you had that big black car you had with a two-door. It was pretty fancy for you. It was I'm serious, he used to have this like feather in back. I mean, it was okay. And can you see him? And he had this beautiful mullet. Oh my goodness. So he says to me, Chad, he's like, hey, what's up? And I remember just losing it. I started crying right there. And now I couldn't tell him because here's my best friend from childhood. And I couldn't even tell him I'm depressed and I want to go kill myself. So I lied to him. And I think I told him that I was having a problem with a girl that I liked, or I don't know what I said to you. It was some story I made up so that you wouldn't think that I was crazy or that I was in some way nuts. So I lied to you and told you that it was something else that it wasn't, because of the stigma, because the same stigma I feel and the shame that I feel even talking about it now, that in some way I'm bad for that or I was wrong for that. And if it wasn't for Corey, I wouldn't actually be here today. I wouldn't, and I would have followed through with it this time. It was time. And what he did was I started crying. He just said, it's going to be okay. You're okay. And I think it terrified him a little bit. And then he made some movie quote that was kind of funny. And then we kind of laughed about that. And then that was the extent of it. That was it. And it was enough that I felt I'm going to be okay. He said I was going to be okay because I trusted Corey. He was a hero to all of us in our class. And I trusted him that I was going to be okay. And that's what it took. I didn't see a therapist. I didn't go to a counselor. No one was around that was a trained suicide prevention advocate to help me. It was my friend who was the same age as I was, and he stopped me. And I think about that because I think about all the stuff that I would have missed if I would have done that. Even this moment right now, to try to talk to some of you or all of you about, hey, this is real. A lot of people feel it. Even the people that you wouldn't think feel it, experience it, and they think that the right answer is, you know what, it's less scary to kill myself than it is to try to live with that emotional turmoil. The scenario with the leg brace that you brought up, Corey, most of your friends that are around you that are feeling this, you're not going to know. But especially as adults, it's really hard. Because most often, do you all go right home to your parents or the adults in your life and tell them about everything that goes on? Do you share with them? Do you go through that stuff with them? My guess is that a lot of you don't, because you're going to give them the minimal version, but you're not going to tell them each and every little thing. So who's really going to help you are the ones around you. So for me, it was Corey showing up. It was my other friend that also was just there for me. It was people that are saying, hey, you're gonna be all right, man, we get it, it's all right. So my question here is, when someone says they want to kill themselves, how do we respond? What do we say? What are the best things we can say? Now just think about this. If we have a friend that says to us, and we all raised our hand before, I wish I wasn't here anymore, I wish I was dead. I really hate my life. I'd be better off dead. I'd rather do that. I'd rather just end it all. That's what's going to make me happy. It's just, I wish I wasn't here. What do we say? How do we help? I need you to tell me how you do it. How would you do it? What do you think? You don't have to have the right answer. What is your name?
Paige.
Paige? How are you today, Paige?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. So, Paige, what do you think? How do we do that? How do we help?
Well, I would obviously try and get them to not think that way. Maybe try and find a solution somehow,
Yeah?
or try and talk them out of it.
Okay. That's what you, yeah, very good, all right. Now, how about you?
I tell them no.
What do you mean you tell them no? You're not doing it, no, absolutely not. So if that were to happen, if somebody says, you know what, it's time, I really want to do this, how would you react to that? Like, you'd say, no, sorry, I'm not gonna, which you could, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just curious.
I'd talk with them, tell them not to do it, I'd be like, you have to make your own choice and do whatever, so I tell them not to do it.
You know, it's interesting because, is there a right answer here? What is the right answer? I saw you shaking your head. Tell me what you think.
There really isn't a right answer.
What do you mean? Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting is that what I find is the most helpful is if someone says that they want to hurt themselves or they want to cause self-harm or whatever it might be, oftentimes people say things like, no you don't, or that's just stupid, or I would be so mad at you. Now, those are all things that you can feel. Those are all things that of course you're probably gonna say or wanna say. Because why? Because we're afraid of our friend leaving us. We're afraid of losing somebody. So of course we're gonna wanna say those things. What I would suggest, and what I'd like to throw out at you is this, is I'd like to see you validate a lot of people that when they have those emotions or it comes up that they're feeling a little bit like they want to commit self-harm, they're thinking about dying or suicide, is to validate the difficult feelings that they're going through. For example, it would be very helpful for someone to say to somebody, I bet you it really hurts. I bet you what you're going through is really tough. I mean, think about the struggles, just all of your struggles right now. Think about all the stuff that you're going through. Whether it's school pressure, whether it's friends, whether it's the people you date or the people you're seeing, all the stuff that goes with that, all those pressures, how difficult that would be. And if someone said, I get it, it's tough. Now think about on top of that, if they want to leave us and they want to take their own life, saying to them, I bet you it really hurts. I bet you it's really tough. You know what, I'm glad you told me because I'm afraid to lose you. I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay here, and I want to stay with you until we get help for you. And I want to take you to a parent or someone that can help. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had this happen where someone said, you tell anybody, and I'm not ever going to talk to you again, or we're done. Has anybody, raise your hand, have you experienced that? Where you've had that happen where someone says, I want to kill myself, but I swear to God, I won't tell anybody. We are done. You have to promise me. So what do you do in that situation? Tell me. What do you do? What are your thoughts? What are your guesses?
Tell someone.
Who said that? Wait a minute. What do you mean? What if they lose their friend? We're friends, and if you talk, I swear.
I'd rather lose you and still have you here.
Yes. I'm going to absolutely 100% agree with that. I think there comes a time when we want to respect our friends and those that might be interested in self-harm, causing damage to themselves, or even attempting or following through with suicide. But I think that we can say, look, I love you and I care about you, but I can't lose you. And I need you to get some help. And I'm not leaving your side until you do that. And it's difficult. It's really difficult because you want to help them, but you're kind of trapped. What do you do? What are you supposed to say to them if they say, you can't tell me? It puts you really in a bad situation, doesn't it? Because what do you do? The thing that helps most, I think, is you let them know, I love you. You're not crazy for thinking that. A lot of people do. In fact, I'm sure that there's more people in here that have felt those types of things, just didn't talk about it because they're afraid of what's going to become of that. So I think it's important that we remember those things. The other thing I think is difficult is, what do you do when someone you love has taken their life? As I understand it, we lost somebody. Someone left us. And I think it's difficult because there are so many feelings, in my experience at least personally and professionally, when someone takes their life, we're mad, we're angry, we're confused, and we're frustrated. And you know what? I don't know that there is a perfect answer to say why or what happened. I mean, that's not for me to judge. But I'll tell you what helps me, and I don't know if this is going to help you. I don't know, because I didn't know the person that left us, and I don't know in your lives the people that have left you. But I sometimes like to think that whoever left us, if they took their life by suicide, I'd like to think that wherever they are right now, and again, that's up to all of you and your own personal spiritual beliefs on what happens. But I like to think of the person that I lost, and I like to think, I hope that they're looking in on me right now, and they're saying, you know what, I'm sorry about that, and I love you, and I miss you, and maybe I'll see you again. And I like to think that they're thinking about me, and I'm thinking about them, of course, and I'm talking with them. And that, for me, seems to be the only thing that really brings me some peace, because there really is no perfect way to heal from that. There's a lot of things that really stick there and never go away, do they? It's very difficult. For that, I'm happy that Corey drove into my driveway right over on State Street that day, because I know that I would have upset a lot of people, and they would have been hurt, and I would have given them a lot of pain for life. But I won't shame anyone that's done that, because I don't know their struggle. Again, they're hurting, and they did something they thought would help that pain, and I'm not the one to judge that. What I care about is that if someone in this room right now is thinking of that, where they've got a friend and they don't know what to do, that you don't walk out of here thinking that there isn't any hope, or that you can't get some assistance or help. Because I believe that for everyone in here, even if you're thinking that it's the right decision, that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, that it will get better. But you know what? You're not gonna believe that today. You're not gonna believe me. You have to feel that. That's what makes it so difficult. Because you're looking through your lens thinking it's never going to get better. I understand that. It makes sense. I felt that. I would love to convince you that it's going to, and that you're going to do some amazing things. And all of us in here want to meet you down the road in the future where you're feeling better about who you are and your life and the great things that are to come. But it is really difficult sometimes. All of you, if you can just remember that you have a better chance of helping your friends that are thinking of self-harm than any one of us adults that are in the room. We are here to help. Certainly we want to, if you reach out, you can reach out to me. If you can get a hold of me, absolutely. If you want some resources or some help, I'd love to. But you've got good people here at the school, good adults, good guardians that want to take care of you, make sure you're safe. But each other, you will help each other much better than any one of us ever will. So if you can remember that, validate those emotions. Let them know you care about them. Get some resources for them. Don't leave their side, and don't give them that shameful feeling that there's some way bad or wrong. We don't mean to feel that way. It just happens. So we have about 5 minutes left. I want to open it up for some discussion, although sometimes that doesn't always happen because people are afraid to ask questions because they think if you're asking them, then you must be feeling them. And that is absolutely not the case. But I will answer any question that you throw out. If you want to know something about what I was thinking and feeling for my suicide attempt, go ahead and ask me. If there's a question you have or a concern or a thought, something that's on your mind, anybody open up. And that's for the adults as well. If anybody wants to throw anything out there, and because we kind of have a condensed time, I may not have gotten to something that maybe Corey you wanted to hear or somebody else wanted to hear as well. Anything, any questions? How can I help?
You said that right after high school, you had that friend that came back and hung out with you for like a month straight.
Yeah.
Do you think he was aware of how you were feeling, and that's why he was around you so frequently?
I kind of, it's a great question. His name was Blaine, and I want to think that he did. He wasn't a counselor, he's a counselor. But I think he kind of picked up on it. I mean, I don't think I give off too many signs that I'm down or depressed, but he was always there. So, you know, you bring up a good point. I never really thought about that. Maybe he did know. You think I should ask him? Give it a shot. All right, I'm going to message him and say, did you know? Because if I want to figure out how he knew, what the signs were, because again, I don't think I gave out a lot of signs. I kind of kept, I laughed more, I joked, and that's something people that are depressed will often do, is they'll make sure that you don't think for a second that they're depressed or sad, or they're especially suicidal. Why would I ever want to tell you that? I'm afraid that you're going to judge me. It's a catch-22. If I talk, I'm crazy. If I don't talk, I feel crazy. So yeah, what's your first name?
Chase.
Chase? Thanks, Chase. Appreciate that. Another question, yeah. You can just throw them out. You don't have to raise your hands at all.
You have are there any things that you know that you just I don't know, you're saying that they're more happy, they joke more and stuff, so that's just your average happy person, so what do you?
How would you know? Because you don't want to, after everyone leaves here, is everyone going to go to everyone else? Yeah, are you okay? Are you okay? You know, right? Because that's sometimes we don't know. And you know what would be a really cool thing is if after here you all did check in with each other. Why not just say, hey, hearing that, I'm just a little concerned. So you're going to feel sometimes a gut, maybe you won't. There are going to be people that take their lives that we couldn't prevent. I know that sounds very pessimistic and very deterministic, but sometimes people will slip through those cracks. The point is that we want to catch as many as we can. So there may not be some signs. Maybe just check in with somebody, say, how are you doing? I heard a speech or somebody talked about suicide, and I worry about my friends. I want to make sure you're okay too. And I do that from time to time. I don't have a good answer for how do you know if they look happy, and I don't want to make everyone paranoid, like everyone's going to kill themselves. I know they're going to. Everyone is going to do that. I don't want to make you paranoid of emotional health out there. But I think if you see some of those signs over some time, or if somebody looks a little bit different, and you probably heard the classic signs, they give away a lot of stuff. They don't seem to care as much. Maybe they're isolating themselves a little bit more. Maybe they're engaging in things more. Maybe there's some weight loss or some weight gain. A lot of you do know when your friends are going through some stuff. You can kind of pick up on that. You say, they seem like something's wrong. But you may not know to ask. But just as a good just a good friend, just to say, hey, I'm just thinking about you doing all right? Just checking in, which I realize that might not go over very well in some situations, but I think it's worth your time to try. And if you think deeply about it, maybe somebody that you are friends with may be experiencing that. I'd be willing to bet that all of you have somebody that you'd be like, oh, I know who he's talking about. There's probably somebody in school that might be already like that. You may know someone like that. So that's a great question. What's your name?
Elijah.
Elijah? Thank you. Other questions? Anything else? Go, yeah, absolutely.
Talk to family or friends that have had this happen to them, and after the fact, and you wanna talk to them about the person they lost. How do you talk to them?
You know what you just said? I kind of like how you just said that. You know, I had a friend some time ago that took his life, and in his family, I said to them, I called them up, and what I said is, I don't know how to bring this up, but I know what happened, and I want to tell you how I feel about this. People don't like always being asked, how you doing? Like, if you've ever lost somebody, people walk up and they go, how you doing, how you doing, how you doing? And after a while, you're like, damn it, I'm fine, stop asking me these questions. But you know what? I like telling people how I feel about what happened. Like, I will say to them, hey, I'm calling to say to you that I'm broken up about this. And I can't imagine how you feel, but I want you to know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And I want to talk about it at some point if you're okay doing that. Probably the stuff that you've already would know to do, but it's good to hear again in a setting like this. I think it's okay to reach out. We're afraid to do that. You know, we're so afraid, I don't want to reach out, I want to talk to them, I don't want to bother them. While that other person is sitting on the other line of that saying, I wish somebody would reach out. Everybody thinks, well, I better give them distance. That might not be what they want. So I think asking the question one time, giving the truth one time, hey, I'm calling you because I've been thinking about this, it's on my mind, I love you, I want to try to make sense of some of this too, and I mean, I want to know if you need some support, but I'm just thinking, I just want you to know I love you and I'm thinking about you, and I'd love to talk about him or her, whoever took their own life. I'd love to talk about that, just because I want to share my feelings about that. So I think letting them know that it's not even about them, it's about you too is okay. I think everyone deserves that one time. If they say to you, you know what, we're not ready to talk about it. But how would you know unless you're reaching out? Again, that's that fear of crossing that line of, do I say something or not? And I've come across that too, where I'm like, I don't want to do it, what do I say? But if you've ever lost somebody through suicide, sometimes you want to be talked to. Sometimes you want people to ask you if you're okay. Maybe you don't, but sometimes you do. We're not going to know, so why not at least reach out sensitively and say, I just want you to know that I'm thinking about this and I'd love to talk about it because it hurts to hear it and it hurts to know it happened. I loved him or I loved her. I don't think that that's wrong. Or even writing it to them or emailing or texting or whatever, whatever route you want to go. I don't know if that helps or if that makes any sense. It's probably stuff you probably tried. Go ahead, you have to raise your hand.
I just lost myself to suicide in November, so
Will you speak to, we got just a second here, will you speak to that? So you lost, your son took his life in when?
November.
In November. So this is raw and this is fresh. So we're all here. And what do you need? What help you?
I like when people come and talk to me, or how are you doing? Not saying one, how you doing, how you
Yeah.
doing, because like now I'm okay, and I'm
And half an hour later, it's gonna all go down, yeah. And then at night, when you're by yourself, the thoughts might start coming in. What is it? Morning is worse for you? So that's why I think people like you can teach all of us too, like, I wanna know from you, what is helpful, what's supportive? Because people will start to avoid people like you. And I don't know if you've seen this as well as students, or they will avoid like, oh, here she comes, I don't know what to say to her, I never know what to say to her, I don't know what, you know what? I'm sad too, and I'm lost, and I'm sad for you. My heart breaks just looking at you, thinking that your heart is broken, and I want to fix that. And I know that we can't. So sometimes just sitting near you and saying, you know what, this is going to be hard as hell. And I'm thinking about him, and or whoever, however the situation happened. I think it's important that you convey that as well. Is there something they can ask you that would make it more easy to hear? When they want to know what's been happening, or if you need some assistance, or so, is there a magic phrase, which I doubt there is. Well, what's funny about that too is that, again, my contention is this. You can be a therapist, you can have all the degrees in the world that help you with people, but nothing beats a hug, or a hand, or somebody just saying, look, you're going through a really tough time, I'm gonna go through it with you. I can't fix it, I can't take it away, but I will try to help hold that pain up and as far away from you as possible. I'm sorry that he left us. I am. I wish that he wouldn't have. And I wish that I could take away what you're feeling. I'm, what would
I
you-
like talking about him. Think you did or whatever. And I don't know, at some point, people will probably kind of hurt that, but for me, it's keeping him alive.
Well, the thing is, the pain doesn't ever go away. It's just easier and time gets farther away. So can I ask you, if you were here right now, what would he say to you?
I don't know. I'm sorry. He
Yeah.
loves me.
Which is all that really needs to be said, right? And that's the stuff that I think about. Sometimes people will shame those that have attempted or those that have, and again, that's why I was talking about feeling ashamed. Some people will say, well, I'm embarrassed that he did that, or I feel like people shame me for that. Again, I'm not gonna make any judgments on what somebody does in their life, but I will say this, that I think that most people that do will look at you and say, I'm sorry, I love you. If I could be here right now, I was hurting, and that seemed the better option. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that. I bet you were a hell of a mom. Thank you for sharing that. That is tough. Suicide affects us long after the event, and this is a very good example of how that works. And for all of you out there, the goal here is so that we prevent this type of stuff and help each other out so that a person doesn't feel that they don't have any other option. So other questions or other things that we can discuss before our time is completely up.
Well, I guess I have a question. What have you seen in your travels as your social worker that this group can build upon to continue, let's say, for a lack of a better term, a social network to continue to support each other?
Well, I think, okay, so here's, I'm gonna answer this, I'm gonna see what I'm doing. I think it's great that you have the electronic means, you can go, something's going on, you can Google it and get your answer right there. You need suicide prevention, you can do that, you can do all those things. But in my travels, what I have seen is that although you can have all the access you want to those things, we're not close to each other the same as we used to be. The hugs, the touches, the looking at someone and saying, hey, I feel for you, I wanna sit with you. We're so good at separating ourselves and sending out an email or a text thinking about you, instead of actually getting in that person's space and saying, you know, we're human. I have a rule that whenever I go see a patient that's dying, I always put my name on them. I don't visit with them, I can't write up a Medicare slip that I visited with them on record until I have my hand on them, because that I'm there and I can feel them and I can touch them and say to them, I'm here and I'm thinking about you and I'm gonna support you, and no matter how afraid you are, I will sit here with you. Even though I can't fix that, maybe you will know that you're not alone. And that's the problem, is that people that do it feel they're alone. They can be sitting in a room like this and still feel alone. And that's the scary part, is that you might not even recognize that. So my thing is that we talk to each other, we get near each other, we say, like you were asking, how do you know? Just being close to somebody, you could probably guess how they're feeling and some of the changes. I know that you know them, but know your friends close enough to say that, hey, something's not right here, something feels wrong. Maybe that's it. But the fear to ask, that's a problem. What's the big deal if you do? What if you're wrong? What if, you know, I'm fine, you know, not gonna hurt myself, dude, I'm fine. Okay, great. But I think that sometimes technology works amazing things for us, but I also think it takes away that human interaction, and that's what people do, they feel alone. I used to work the crisis lines at a county, and my job was to, when someone called in, I was the guy that you called if you were going to kill yourself, if you were on the edge, if you were whatever, I was the guy answering that. And I always used to tell people that, you know what, I can't stop you, I don't have any power right now. You could cut your wrist, you could shoot yourself, I can't stop you, but can you do me a favor, can you just tell me so I know your story? Can you tell me your story so that I know who you are and who's on the end of this line? And by the end of that conversation, if I could get them to realize that they weren't alone, that's what generally stopped them in that moment. So that's what I'm hoping people can do. They can reach out and be closer in a way that's non-electronic. So Is that right to say? Is that gonna work for everything? I don't know, but I feel that when I meet with people, that closeness, they need that. So I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone of you here. I don't know if you care about that. But I can tell you right now, it's nice to get a text, but it's really nice when you're close to someone saying, hey, I'm gonna walk through this with you. It's like trying to tell someone who's running a marathon, you know, how do you fix that? If somebody's running a marathon, they're halfway through and they look at you and they say, I'm tired. How can you take that tired away from them? They're gotta finish the marathon. You just wanna be with them. That little bit of emotional support may be enough to get them through the end so that there's a future for all of you. That's my goal today. That's what I want, is that we see all of you down the road in a happy future that you couldn't possibly imagine for yourself, but is gonna be wonderful when you get there. I don't know who asked the last question. I kinda lost track. I went off on a tangent. So whoever asked it was good. Other questions or thoughts, or anyone wanna add anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, quick thought here. I just want to thank you for coming. I thought this was excellent. I want to tell the young kids here that as a youngster, I lost 2 people in my family to suicide, a grandmother and a aunt. And as a young teen, you know, looking back, I can't even think about it right now, but I can put myself in their shoes. You don't realize it as a kid. You don't, you know, you look at the adults, they're supposed to be strong, right? Well, my grandpa had a stroke, and my grandma couldn't handle it after, you know, a year or 2, killed herself. My aunt struggled with anxiety, super bad, lots of medications, killed herself. Back then, you never thought of asking a lot of those questions. I think to myself, I think I should have helped them out more. I should have done more for them. So I want these kids to be aware that, you know, not
Can you
just
say
kids.
that, the part with because I feel guilt, like what you're saying is like you wish you would have done more, there's a little
Right.
regret there. And every one of us does that. When we're like, oh, why didn't I see, everyone puts on the superhero cape after and thinks we could have, and I know you, and I know your heart, and it's huge, and to hear that breaks my heart, because I know that you would have done anything, and it's hard because, how old were you when that happened?
Boy, I just want to think I was probably between 12 and 15. It's kind of a blur, you know, that, it really takes you away at that point.
And you think, look at a 12-year-old right now, and how would a 12-year-old know how to stop an adult issue like that? So, and like I said, it breaks my heart. I love that you have the heart that you have, and I'm saddened that you were in that position that you felt you couldn't do anything. And you know, it's interesting because even as kids, sometimes we can say things to parents that, or aunts or grandmothers, that probably is way larger wisdom than they might ever think would come out of you. But I know that you could have, or if you would have, you could have, you would have. I know that about you because I know you. And I think you would have been, if you would have been able to do it, you would have done it immediately. But I just, sometimes we're powerless, and I think that's probably a very difficult thing when we're that powerless and that young. I mean, I don't know how, we don't have that magic wand to say, okay, let me just figure this out. So, yeah, you're definitely a survivor in that. You are.
I just want the kids to think about, you know, how they can be helpful too to anybody that they know is on medication or has lost a loved one that might be really depressed and hiding it, because that's what those people were doing, they were hiding it.
And they do a very good job of hiding it. They're trained to do that. And it's so difficult too, because the stigma, even with mental illness or emotional stuff, is like, who wants to just raise their hand that they have a psychiatric illness? Or who wants to talk about bipolar, or they're struggling with depression, or it's not a fun thing to necessarily, it's not a badge of honor. It's getting better, but people hid that a lot. And I think that's where they do it to themselves, but eventually the family kind of shares some of that pain, because it comes right onto them, and they carry that with them as you have. And they feel like, I wish I could have done something, and I feel powerless. You know, your life is an example of what you did though, with the amazing stuff that you did in your life. That to me, that's where you helped out. I think that's probably what you gave to the community, what you've done. I think doing that makes her proud, makes both of them proud. And I'm not trying to gloss over this like some kind of a talk show. I think that knowing who you are and what you've done, I think they'd be proud of seeing that. So if there's some peace in that, I don't know. Thanks, Tim.
I'll just add one comment there, that it is okay to talk about it. Okay, my guys. I always talk about a hug, right? You need a hug, Big Rich, having a bad day, you need a hug. There's a method to my madness.
You say that.
All the
Does he
time.
say that to you?
I'll publicly say, I suffer from
I like
depression,
that.
and I take medication every day, okay? It's okay to talk about it. Not bad. No different than Oliver's knee.
You know, can I add to that, Jimmy, too? If, I forgot what I was gonna say. If you don't have the answer, that's the other thing I wanted to say, I realize that those bells probably mean something. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know the answer. I don't know how to help, but let's get you to people that can help. Because if they say to you, I'm depressed and I think this and that, you're not gonna put a therapist hat on and try to fix it right there. You're gonna say, you know what? I hear that you are, let's get you some help. It's no different than going to an ER, ED. You wanna help them, give them to the experts, and I think that's the part, if you don't know how to help, you still have the resources, so you are helping. If they came to you, again, the hand holding, the talking to them, the letting them know that, I get this, you know what, you're hurting, and I understand, that makes sense to me. Let's get you some help so that you feel a little bit better. And it may not be over once you hand them off to someone else that can help, because they may still struggle with this. But that's what we do as friends, isn't it? We take care of those around us. We do. Thank you, Sharon. Other thoughts or questions or comments? Maybe something I said didn't sit right and you want to throw that out, that's fine as well. Or you want to talk about it after, that's fine too. I don't want this conversation to stop here. That would kind of be a tragedy. So I hope it continues on beyond this with all of you, and that it opens it up a little bit, that you feel good talking with each other about those things, whether it's suicide, whether it's something else that's affecting you in some way, so it doesn't lead down a path where you feel depressed, you feel that there's no way out, and eventually it lands in that area of self-harm. That would be my goal again today of that. So I really, really appreciate your attention and sticking around for a while. It was really cool. And for sharing, all of you that shared, Zibby, you as well, thank you so much. Anything else I can do for you, let me know. I'll be down here for a few minutes. Thank you.